I'm Bishop.
And I'm Dr. Steph.
Thank you so much for tuning in to another edition of Our Life, Our Journey.
Truth.
So excited to have you connected today, and we don't take for granted the opportunity to pour into your life every single week. And listen, we thank God for all of y'all who stay on this platform and let us know that it's blessing you. We get all the comments, and so want to make sure you stay connected to this community by liking and making sure you comment.
And make sure you subscribe and share with your friends and family.
Yeah, do that, because that will continue to make this platform what we know God would have it to become. We appreciate you so much. And of course, we're thankful just for the opportunity to continue to pour into all of you. And of course, make sure you follow Dr. Steph right there on Instagram, Facebook, all of that. Follow me as well. And we look forward to just staying in community with you. Go to our website. So today we're going to talk about something as we move to the spring season, something that's so important, and it's about consistency and those small little daily habits that kind of produce the kind of outcomes that we want and the results. And consistency is something we talk about all the time. And I think that I want to lay a foundation on this, because I think that a lot of the things that I've read, particularly in our book club, you should also be a part of the book club. It'll bless you. Yes. Next Level the book club. Check it out. But let me tell you something. We've learned the power of consistency has a lot to do with the kind of habits that you put forth. In terms of habits, of those things that are not so much aspirational, but actually realistic. And I think sometimes we have habits, or we attempt to put forth things that are not realistic in terms of their ability to sustain, is what I'm getting at.
Well, I think where this is coming from too is just this idea of goal setting, right?
Yeah.
I think frequently we, start off the year really strong, and then sometimes we might falter here and there. But as you're entering the second quarter, frequently people will reassess their goals and set these lofty, goals, or, what have you. And then they kind of get stuck. Like, what do I do? Like, how do I actually achieve that thing? And it's, passion is great. Resilience is great, but it's the consistency that will get you there, right? Because you can start off a race, the fastest one, like the rabbit and the, the hare and the turtle and the hare. But if you don't keep going, then you will never get there. Or if you start off too fast and then you stop, and then you start, and then you stop, and then you start, and then you stop, it takes even longer for you to get there, because every time you start again, you have to regain that momentum. It's better to take a step back. And what he was getting at is, okay, if this is where I want to go, how do I break this thing down to bite-sized pieces that are realistic for my life, for my season? It doesn't mean that if I do something different than this one over here, or different than that one over here, that I won't get there. They may get there faster because they're doing twice as much, or this one might get there slower because they're not doing as much or as at the same pace. But the reality is, what you have to look at yourself, your individual season that you're in, what you actually have the capacity to do, and decide to do that. And if you can do that over and over and over and over and over again, and I think I love when I've heard this multiple times, and they say, greatness is built by people who do the thing on two occasions, when they want to and when they don't. Right? And so you have to really, if you're setting yourself up for success, that why, that thing that you're chasing has to be so, you have to be so passionate about it that it makes you cry. It makes, it really makes you dig deep to want to do it, because you have to want to do it. You have to be willing to do it, even when you don't want to do it. And that's what consistency is about. You think about your life, my life. I didn't get through medical school because every day was peaches and cream, right? I got through medical school because I had my eyes set on a goal at the end of the day to get my MD, right? And sometimes I struggled. Sometimes I cried. Sometimes it wasn't the best day in the world, but I knew that no matter what, if I kept chugging along and kept going and just didn't stop, I would ultimately reach my goal and my destination.
And that's powerful. I think one of the things that I want to add there is that I think sometimes you have to be patient with yourself. You can
Yes.
be so hard on yourself. Oh my God, I missed the day, or I wasn't
Mhm.
this, or I didn't do that, I didn't do this. And then all of a sudden you drop everything because you feel like you failed. A
Mhm.
part of this journey of consistency is
Yeah.
just over time. Some days are going to be more, you know, I think powerful and strong in terms of what you're trying to accomplish in other
Mhm.
days. Some days you'll be
Mhm.
not as energetic or not as locked in. But the
Mhm.
overall, point here is that if you're focused and you are passionate,
Mhm.
focused on the end result, and you're passionate about getting there, all the stuff in the middle will take care of itself.
And you have to give yourself grace in the process, right? And I loved what you just said because, sometimes you throw the baby out with the
Can't
bathwater.
do it.
You start off really strong, and because you stumble, you're like, oh, forget it. I hate it. I can't do it. I'm not capable.
Right.
And I've even had someone having had to talk to me about this. Like I had some, health goals in terms of working out and doing what I do. And I'm so type A. I had my schedule set, 5 to 6 days a week. I was going to do this. I was going to have one rest day. And yeah. And that lasted for about 2 weeks. And this person looked at me and they were like, one of my trusted mentors was like, are you crazy? Like, don't do this to yourself. Like, I know you well enough to know that if you don't do it 110%, then you don't want to do it at all, which is true. And what they said was, okay, yeah, your goal is, working out 5, 6 days a week. Okay, fine. But give yourself grace. Consider it a win if you work out 3 days a week.
Right.
And if you work
That's
out
the key.
more, then
That's the
that's
key.
great.
That's the key.
And when I transform my thinking to that, because that was more real, that's more realistic for our lifestyle and everything that we have going on, then that allowed me to keep going and maintain the cadence and maintain the consistency because 3 days a week was very doable. There are some days, some weeks that, yes, of course, I work out more than that. But even if I can't and I can just get in those 3 days for that week, I consider it a win. And so part of it is just giving yourself the grace and the space to be realistic. You can stretch those goals. If you
Yeah.
can do a little bit
Yeah.
more than what you're trying to do for that week, great. But then there's this other thing that I love to do, and I've never been more productive than when I did this in this season, right? Before you go to sleep at night, identify 3 things that you need to do for the next day
Hmm.
in order to take one step closer to your goal, or maybe it's multiple goals that you're working on at the same time.
Right.
But just identify your big 3 for the day, and they don't have to be huge. It just needs to be something that needs to get done. And yes, you're going to have a longer to do list and you're going to have other meetings and whatever it is that you do. But if you get those 3 things done and only those 3 things, then that's a win for the day. And that helps you be consistent. Yes, you can have a to do list of 1,000 things, but if you get those 3 things done, you can celebrate that you've done what you needed
That
to do
is
for the day.
celebrating
Yeah.
small wins.
Yeah.
Man, that was it. That was it. Celebrating small wins is what I was
Mhm.
getting at in terms of what we read in the book club. Like really pausing and saying, look, you know what? I set out to do these 5 things. I've done 3 versus looking at the 2 I didn't get done.
Right. And letting that
Celebrate the
define
3
you.
that you
Yeah.
did. I
Mhm.
think that's so important. And when you're aspirational and you're a gunner, I know the idea of I'm on this eating plan and I gotta make sure I do this and I'm on this workout plan.
It's setting
It's
yourself
setting
up
for
for
failure
failure.
every single time. And I
Mhm.
think that's what's so important. Consistency is about being honest about
Mhm.
where you are in the process. You are a human being, not a human doing. And so
Mhm.
you got to understand the nuances of your own life. The making space for things you cannot control
Yeah.
is a part of being consistent. For us, it's about,
Mhm.
here's a big one. Let's talk about this: adaptability.
Mhm.
Consistency can be in your willingness to adapt
And pivot.
and pivot, to
Yes.
still get it done, even if it doesn't get done in the way in which you had originally
Originally
imagined.
thought. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. And
Mhm.
then we've had a lot of that.
We
Sometimes it
have
can be,
perfected the
yeah.
pivot. We'll walk in
Oh,
and be like, "Oh my gosh, this is happening," or "Oh, we can't do this or that or that." And then we'll both pause and just look at each other and take a deep breath and be like, "Okay, so let's figure this out. Well, let's take a few minutes and just figure it out. Maybe we can do this, this, this." We'll brainstorm, and then in 5 minutes, we've made a decision about how we're going to move forward. It hasn't always been like that,
Yeah, yeah.
but I think that we've gotten to the point where we understand very well that there's more than one way to skin a cat. There's more than one path to whatever that destination
That's
is.
good. That's
And
good.
sometimes, a lot of people think the path is straight and narrow. It's not straight and narrow, it's circuitous. And most people get to their destination like this.
Yeah, EKG.
Right. As opposed to just straight there. It looks easy because we make it look easy, because we, in front of the cameras, don't sweat the small stuff. But behind the scenes, sometimes it can be really hair raising and crazy. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. I think, you think about, for example, the pivot, right?
Yeah.
So for example, here's an example. Let's say, all of a sudden now your kid has a football practice or some kind of flag football situation going on. And you're like, I didn't see that on the calendar. Oh my God, now I've got to do it. I wanted to work out. And then you're doing it at a place where it's a park. The kids are out there doing their thing and there's a track around the football field. Maybe that's a way to say I can do two things at one time. Maybe I could walk while I watch them practice. I mean, I've seen that. We've seen it. And I think just learning how to
Just
pivot.
a simple example.
Yeah, it's a simple example, but learning how to pivot. And I think it takes a great deal of intentionality and conversation
And commitment. Yeah.
And your favorite phrase is, okay, we can figure this out. Nobody died. Let's figure this out.
Nobody's
Let's
bleeding.
just pause. Let's just figure out it's not the end of the world, and just coming up with a solution to get the thing done. At the end of the day, it's not so much how it got done, it's that it got done. Right? I think that's so important. So maybe you think about it like this. Make a list of your priorities. Make a list of those things you absolutely want to get done or need to get done in this season. And as you do that, carve out that time and create space for grace. Create space for the inevitables to happen, the uncertainties to happen. And as you go through that, celebrate the small wins.
But once you make your list of your goals, break those goals down in small bite-sized pieces.
That is.
Things that are manageable on a daily basis. And maybe it's not a daily basis, maybe it's a weekly basis. And then you can break those things down further, right? Because if you look at a big goal, frequently, so many people come up with phenomenal ideas, but most ideas die in execution because they're not able to see the tiny steps that it takes to get to the big picture. But if you work backwards, like you begin with the end in mind, and then you break it down, break it down, break it down, break it down, break it down. Then every day when you're getting ready to feeling like you want to go crush the day, you're not like, oh, I need to make $1 million tomorrow. No, you're like, I need to, create an email template.
Yeah.
That's it.
Right.
For today.
Period.
And then the next day it's something else. And then the next day it's something else. And the next day it's something else. And so it's not overwhelming or arduous such that you look at it, you feel overwhelmed and you want to quit or you want to give up. It's just those little small things. And like even if it's like I know we always use these kind of examples, but just like working out, like people think you got to go to the gym and pump 1,000 pounds to be like mega, Hulk Hogan, and you don't. All you have to do is just get up off the couch. I don't care what you do. Maybe you go for a walk. Maybe you walk from here to the kitchen 10 times. Maybe you go and garden. Yeah. Maybe you go and just clean your house. That's movement. Get in the bathtub and scrub the tub. I mean, that's movement. No, seriously, right?
Yeah.
Oh, maybe you have a bad habit of like drinking a ton of soda. Okay, well, cut back on 2 sodas a day. If you drank 10 this week, drink 8. Next week, drink 6.
That's good.
And week after that, drink 5. Like those are steady, progressive steps to getting to your goal. It doesn't have to be go cold turkey, only drink water and eat salads. Like that's not even realistic. You will never maintain or get to your destination that way. And even us, like what? Go ahead and say it.
No, go ahead.
Like we feed the elephant.
That's what I was going to say. I was on the edge of my seat, ready to say that, and we learned that in all fairness from our the app that we.
Oh, Noom.
Noom.
Yeah,
Noom
yes.
And so we learned something that even as you are trying to meet your caloric goals, you're trying to reach certain outcomes with your health. The advice was given through that Noom app was, so what if you like a chocolate cookie every now and then? You're just gonna go cold turkey on the chocolate cookie.
It's never gonna work.
The elephant needs to be fed sometime. So if you're doing this 5 days, 6 days a week, it's okay to have in moderation a splurge, because you gotta feed that elephant, or that elephant will start eating up on
Otherwise,
you.
the system will fail.
It'll fail. And how many times have you said, "Oh no, I'm cold turkey on all sweets"? I've said that before too. I'm not gonna eat sweets in 2025. And it was like, yo, Valentine's Day, I'm like eating this s'mores thing, like, oh Jesus. And then we get back and realize we haven't really gained weight because we've been eating so well. That one thing is not gonna put us over the top. So I just think it's important. Moderation. So moderation, but celebration. Do the things you enjoy because you got to live, but do them responsibly. And it doesn't mean I'm not being consistent. It's just sometimes in my psyche, I'm saying, man, I was right on target, eating my salmon.
It's like very all or nothing.
Yeah,
and you can't be so
say that
extreme.
again.
So all or
Or
nothing.
nothing.
Because sometimes most people who have been successful maybe being 80-20. 70-30.
That's good.
I'm going to do this 70% of the time, and the other 30%, I'm just going to live my best life. But because it's 70% of the time, even if it's a little bit slower than the person who's going to get, doing it 100% of the time, one, you will get there, and more likely than the person that's doing it at 100%, you will, it's sustainable. So once you get to your goal, you'll be able to maintain it, versus the person that's doing anything 100%, they will burn out, they will quit, it will be too much. Once they reach their goal, they're like, oh, I reached my goal. Now I'm going to do whatever I want.
Yeah.
And everything transforms, because you can't sustain that pace no matter what you're doing 100% all the time.
And that's the key word, right? Sustainability here, right? Because wherever there is consistency, the end game here should be sustainability. Not just consistency for the sake of consistency.
Or for the sake of reaching the goal.
Is
when
this
you get there,
sustainable?
Yeah.
Is this what God promised us, good success? I think that's what it's all about. So, even as you hear this and you're thinking about some areas in your life that could be more consistent, maybe it's working out, eating right, maybe it's communicating, maybe it's date night. That's so much fun. We're very consistent about that. And we also know how to pivot. Can't do it on Monday, we're gonna do it on Friday. Yeah. We had a great date night the other night, didn't we?
We did.
And the other one before that too. Yeah. We're learning some things about just being consistent with that, because what it says is that you're only consistent to those things
that are important.
You are important to me.
Thank you for saying that.
Yes.
I appreciate that.
Yes. Huh.
You are important to me. He was waiting too, and I was ready to move right on. Okay, thank you, baby.
Yeah, bro. That's how it is, man. That's all right, though. Thank you, babe. Thank you, babe. Yeah, it goes right. And don't let your wife say that first. Then you don't say nothing. Oh, you ain't gonna say. Every man felt me right there. But no, I know I'm important to you, honey. Thank you.
Yeah.
But yeah, but you're only consistent on those things that are important to you. And I think as you think about this in our own lives, we got countless examples of that. It's just about consistency, pivoting, doing things that are realistic, that are like the SMART goals, right? And
taking small steps steadily over time.
Over time, and then you'll get there. At the end of the day, it's about achieving the goal. And so that's why I think this episode was so important, because every single person is setting out to do something, to accomplish something, but it's never going to come to fruition unless you maintain a level of consistency. So our little 2 cents, that's a question before we go. Like, can you tell me something that you feel that we've kind of gotten really good at in terms of consistency, and maybe something that maybe to help them that we're still working on?
I think that we've gotten really good at prioritizing our family and putting our family first.
Very consistent.
It hasn't always been that way. We've had struggles, but over the last few years, it's been something that's been core. And I think that because we've been committed to that and it's showing up every day, our kids are thriving, our marriage is thriving, the various business endeavors that we have are thriving because our core is solid, right? In terms of things that we're working on.
I had 2 donuts.
Yesterday. You did.
Yeah, I should have ate one.
You worked on it.
Or we often do this to each other, like, it's okay. You want a donut? You're like, I wasn't even thinking about that donut.
Yeah, donut.
But since
we often do, that's him. Like when he wants something, he'll be like, those look really good. Don't you want one of those? So he's not being guilty by himself, right? So he's looking for guilt affirmation, right?
What did I do? What I did last night?
Nothing worked out.
And
like 9 or 10 o'clock.
I asked her how many calories were those donuts. She told me I was on the treadmill for a whole hour getting it in. That's what we do.
Trying to burn those calories off.
Those calories for sure. So I sure did. Then drunk a half a gallon of water. So that's what we do. So hey man, it's just about, we're just normal people. We're out here trying to figure it out too. But more importantly, we hope you get it. Consistency is the key, y'all. And every day, I want you to think about small little steps you can make to achieve the goals you have. This has been great, babe.
Yeah.
Thank y'all so much. She laughing because there's still one more donut up there. I'm see what's gonna happen.
There's
one.
2.
Oh, how you know?
I looked at the
Donut auditor. Man, that's a shame. She's a donut auditor. Anyway, y'all. Thank y'all for tuning in. I'm Bishop.
I'm Dr. Steph.
Until next time.
Peace.
Let's go eat them donuts.